Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, magnetism and matter, I will discuss about the topic magnetic classification of magnetic material. Okay, so make sure you have watched all the videos of magnetism and matter till Earth magnetism. Okay, so let's start this video with topic some important term used in magnetism. So first is magnetic intensity or magnetizing force. Magnetic intensity or magnetizing force is intensity at a point is the force experienced by the north pole of a unit pole strength placed at that point due to the pole strength of a given magnet. Okay, magnetic intensity is at a point the force experienced by the north pole of a unit pole strength placed at the point due to pole strength of a given magnet. It is denoted by H. So H equal to B upon mu. Okay. So to understand this topic, consider an iron core toroid having n turns per unit length. We have an iron core toroid having n turns per unit length and current I is flowing through it. Okay. The magnetic field in the interior of the toroid is given by, we know the value of magnetic field in interior of the toroid is given by B equal to mu n I. Okay, where mu is the magnetic permeability of the iron core and mu equal to mu r mu naught. And here quantity Ni. Ni is called magnetic intensity or magnetizing force. Clear? So it is given by B equal to mu into H. From this equation, we will get this formula H equal to B upon mu. Okay. So magnetic intensity is the force experienced by the north pole of a unit pole strength placed at that point. So I hope this point is clear to you. Magnetic intensity or magnetized force may be defined as the number of ampere per unit turns per meter. Number of ampere turns flowing per unit length of the toroid. Clear? Magnetic intensity is number of ampere flowing per meter length of the toroid. Okay. So this is the magnetic intensity. Now what is the unit of magnetic intensity? Unit of magnetic intensity is ampere per meter. Okay. Ampere per meter. Now next term is, now magnetic intensity is defined as the magnetomotive force per unit length. It is the magnetomotive force per unit length. As I told you, number of ampere turns flowing per meter length of the toroid. It can also be defined as the degree or extent to which a magnetic field can magnetize a substance. Okay. Magnetic intensity can also be defined as the degree or extent to which a magnetic field can magnetize a substance. It can also be defined as the force experienced by a unit positive charge flowing with a unit velocity in direction normal to the magnetic field. SI unit of this is ampere turns per linear meter. And its CGS unit is Oersted. So I hope this point is clear to you. Magnetic field strength or magnetic field or magnetic induction or magnetic flux density. So the magnetic flux density is the number of magnetic lines of force passing normally through a unit area of substance. It is given by B equal to mu into H. B equal to mu into H is from this formula. Okay. So magnetic induction or magnetic flux density is when a magnetic material is subjected to an external magnetic field, the material gets magnetized. So the magnet is produced is called induced magnetism and the phenomena is called magnetic induction. Clear? What is magnetic induction? Magnetic induction is the phenomena if a magnetic material is subjected to an external magnetic field, it gets polarized. This is magnetic induction. Clear? So the external magnetic field which magnetizes the material is called magnetizing field. So to understand this, let us consider a solenoid. We have a solenoid which have a n number of turns. Consider a solenoid which have a n numbers of turns. Clear? So the magnetic field in the interior of the solenoid is given by, we know the value of magnetic field interior of the solenoid is given by B not equal to mu naught I. Clear? Now consider a magnetic material inside the solenoid. This is solenoid. This is solenoid and magnetic material placed inside this solenoid. Clear? The atomic magnetic dipole of a material get aligned in the direction of B naught, in this direction. Okay. As a result, the magnetic material gets magnetized such that south pole is induced on the left and the north pole on its right direction. So due to this induced magnetism, bar magnet produces its own magnetic field. It produces its own magnetic field. So let's draw diagram for this. This is produce its own magnetic field. North outward from south inside magnetic field. Okay, and magnetic field lines. Clear? So inside a magnet, bar magnet, the magnetic field lines due to the bar magnet and the external magnetic field are in the same direction. But outside they are in opposite direction. Clear? Inside the magnetic field lines in the same direction and outside these are in opposite direction. Clear? As a result, the field lines get concentrated inside this bar magnet as compared to their number outside. Okay. So the magnetic field lines inside the magnetized iron bar are called magnetic lines of induction. Okay. And magnetic flux density or magnetic induction is defined as the total number of magnetic lines of induction inside the magnetized material crossing normally through unit area. I hope this is clear to you. This is a vector quantity and SI unit of this is Tesla. Clear? Or we can say SI unit of this is Weber per meter square. Clear? 1 Gauss equal to 10 raised to power minus 4 Tesla. Magnetic flux is it is defined number of magnetic field lines of force passing normally through a surface. Its unit is Weber. Now relation between B and H, where B is magnetic induction magnetic field and H is the magnetizing force. So we know that B equal to mu into H, where mu is the permeability of the medium. Now what is magnetic permeability? Next term is magnetic permeability. Magnetic permeability of a material is its ability to permit magnetic field lines to pass through it. Clear? Or we can say it is a degree or extent to which magnetic lines of force can pass enter a substance. Clear? It is defined as the ratio of its magnetic induction B to magnetic intensity H. Magnetic induction B to magnetic intensity H. So we can write B equal to mu equal to B over S, where B is magnetic intensity and H is magnetizing. B is magnetic induction or H is magnetic intensity. Clear? Or ratio of magnetic permeability, ratio of the permeability of the material to the permeability of free space is called relative permeability. Next term is relative permeability. Now let's talk about unit of magnetic permeability. The unit of magnetic permeability is Tesla meter per ampere, Weber per ampere into meter. Clear? Relative magnetic permeability. Relative magnetic permeability is the ratio of magnetic flux density in a material to that in vacuum. Or it can also be defined as the ratio of absolute permeability of the material to that in vacuum. So we can write mu r equal to B upon B naught. B upon B naught, or mu r equal to mu upon mu naught, where B upon B naught is the ratio of magnetic flux density in material to vacuum, or mu r equal to mu upon mu naught is the ratio of absolute permeability of the material to that in vacuum. Now next term is intensity of magnetization. What is intensity of magnetization? Next term is intensity of magnetization. So this is defined as it is the degree to which a substance is magnetized when placed in a magnetic field. Intensity of magnetization tells us the degree of a material by which it gets magnetized when it placed in a magnetic field. Clear? It can also be defined as the magnetic dipole moment per unit volume of a substance. Clear? So now so far we have studied that how a material is converted into magnet. The basic cause is electron and motion of electron. Clear? Now if electron is rotating this way, it has a magnetic field created. It has a magnetic dipole moment created by this. Okay? So this is a wire in which current is flowing through this wire. It makes its own magnetic field. Clear? And if we take any material in this field, it experiences a force of attraction in this field. Clear? So magnetic intensity is given by I. Magnetic intensity equal to I. It is denoted by M. So if this is a wire which have the shape of wire, we can say this is a solenoid. Clear? Current is flowing in this wire. The wire is given a shape. This is solenoid. Clear? Inside this magnetic field is there. Okay? Now, what is source of magnetic field? Magnetic field, source of magnetic field, we know electric current. So electric current is flowing. This create a magnetic field around it, anything which can in this will experience a force. It will experience a magnetic field. When this makes a magnetic, how much is this magnetic field? How do we measure this magnetic field? So this magnetic field is measured by I. So we can say intensity of this magnetic field is given by I. It is denoted by M. Clear? So it is the magnetic field by one conductor, one wire. Now there is a n number of turns in this wire. So the magnetic intensity is given by n equal to n into I. So I hope this is clear to you. So magnetic intensity can be defined as the magnetic dipole moment acquired per unit volume of a substance. So we can write this formula M equal to M upon V. We can write M equal to M upon V, where M is magnetic dipole moment, net dipole moment, or V is volume. So unit of magnetic dipole moment is ampere into meter square divided by meter cube. So we can write ampere per meter. Unit of this is given by ampere per meter. Clear? Net dipole moment per unit volume is given by quantity m, which is called intensity of magnetization. I hope this is clear to you. Okay. So next term is it can also be defined as the pole strength per unit. This intensity of magnetization can also be defined as the pole strength m per unit cross-sectional area. It is denoted I equal to m upon v. I equal to m into 2L upon A into 2L, or we can write m I equal to m upon A. So here it is denoted by I. As a unit of intensity of magnetization is given by ampere per meter. Now next term is magnetic susceptibility. Magnetic susceptibility is the possibility of possibility of a material getting something. What does it mean? It means that if we have kept any material in a magnetic field, how it gets magnetized. This is the susceptibility of a magnetic material. Clear? So it is the property of a substance which shows how easily a substance can magnetize. Magnetic susceptibility is how easily a substance can magnetize. It measures how a magnetic material responds to an external magnetic field. This is called magnetic susceptibility. It can also be defined as the ratio of intensity of magnetization I in a substance to the magnetic intensity H applied to that substance. It is given by psi equal to I upon H. It is denoted by this term psi. You can write this is denoted by I upon H. Okay. This is dimensionless or unitless quantity. Now relation between magnetic permeability or susceptibility. So for this, now draw the relation between, let's compare the relation between magnetic permeability and magnetic susceptibility. So we know that when a magnetic material is kept in a magnetizing field of a magnetic intensity as it gets magnetized. So total magnetic flux B inside the material is sum of the magnetic flux density due to magnetizing material plus flux density due to magnetization of the material. So which is given by B naught equal to Bm. Clear? B naught equal to Bm. This is a magnetic field due to current. This is magnetic field due to magnetization. Okay. So now we know that B naught equal to mu naught H and Bm equal to mu naught M, as we have discussed in previous slide. So we can write this mu naught equal to H plus M, H plus M, or here M is intensity of magnetization, or we can write mu H equal to mu H plus mu naught I. Okay, we can write this mu naught I. Now we can write this equation mu naught equal to 1 mu naught equal to H plus I. Clear? And from the formula of magnetic susceptibility, we will get H I equal to psi into H. From this equation, we will get mu naught H in bracket 1 plus psi. Clear? Where B equal to mu naught H plus M, or we can write this equation mu naught H in bracket 1 plus psi. Where B equal to mu into H, so we can write B equal to mu into H. This equation we can write B equal to mu into H. This is mu into H. So H and H cancel. The new case equation will be mu equation is given by mu equation is given by mu equal to mu naught 1 plus psi, or we can write mu upon mu naught equal to 1 plus psi, where mu upon mu naught is mu r. Mu r is relative permeability equal to 1 plus relative permeability equal to 1 plus psi. This is the relation between relative permeability mu r and magnetic susceptibility psi. So I hope this is clear to you. Relation is given by mu r equal to 1 plus psi is the susceptibility. Now next topic is classification of magnetic material. So all substances are classified by magnetic field in one way or other depending upon their behavior in external magnetic field. Substances are divided into three categories. These are diamagnetic, paramagnetic, and ferromagnetic. So let's talk about these topics. Diamagnetic. Diamagnetic substances are those substances which are feebly repelled by a magnet. Clear? Substances which are feebly repelled by a magnet are called diamagnetic substance. Or in other words, we can say substance which show a tendency to move from a stronger to weaker region of external magnetic field. Some diamagnetic materials are antimony, bismuth, copper, gold, silver, quartz, mercury, alcohol, water, hydrogen, air, argon, etc. Clear? Paramagnetic substances are those substances which are feebly attracted by magnet. Clear? Some substances when placed in a magnetic field are feebly magnetized in the direction of magnetic field. When brought closer to a pole of powerful magnet, they are attracted towards the magnet. So these substances are called paramagnetic substances, and their magnetism is called paramagnetism. Example of paramagnetism are aluminium, chromium, alkaline, earth, metals, platinum, and oxygens. Clear? Ferromagnetic. Some substances, when placed in a magnetic field, are strongly magnetized in the direction of magnetic field. So they are fast attracted towards a magnet. when brought close to either of the poles of the magnet. These substances are called ferromagnetic substance and their magnetism called ferromagnetism. Example of ferromagnetism are iron, cobalt, nickel, etc. Second point is when diamagnetic material placed in magnetic field, the lines of force tend to avoid the substance. You can see this is a magnetic field lines, and when the ferromagnetic substance is placed in this magnetic field, these lines of force tend to avoid the substance. Clear? When piece of any substance of ferromagnetic is placed in a magnetic field, lines of force tends to avoid the substance. Clear? For paramagnetic, the lines of force prefer to pass through a substance rather than air. So in this is a paramagnetic substance and it is placed in magnetic field. The lines of force is passing through this substance. This is the paramagnetic substance. And in case of ferromagnetic, this is the ferromagnetic substance. It is placed in magnetic field. We see that the lines of force tend to crowd into this ferromagnetic substance. Clear? When diamagnetic substance placed in a non-uniform field, it moves from stronger to weaker field. Clear? When a diamagnetic substance is placed in a non-uniform magnetic field, it moves from stronger to weaker field. And when paramagnetic substance is placed in a non-uniform magnetic field, it moves from weaker to stronger field. And if we talk about ferromagnetic substance, when placed in a non-uniform magnetic field, it moves from weaker to stronger field. It has a strong attraction. Clear? And when a diamagnetic rod is freely suspended in a uniform magnetic field, it aligns itself in a direction perpendicular to the field. So in this figure, this is a diamagnetic rod is suspended in a uniform magnetic field. This is a uniform magnetic field. We see that this rod aligns itself in the direction perpendicular to the field. The direction of magnetic field is from north to south, and it gets perpendicular to the direction of magnetic field. Clear? And if we talk about paramagnetic rod, when paramagnetic rod is freely suspended in a uniform magnetic field, it aligns itself in the direction parallel to the field. So let's see in this diagram. This is a paramagnetic rod which is suspended in a uniform magnetic field. This is the uniform magnetic field. We see that this paramagnetic rod is aligned itself in the direction parallel to the magnetic field. This rod is parallel to the magnetic field, north to south. And if we talk about ferromagnetic, when a paramagnetic rod is freely suspended in uniform magnetic field, it aligns itself in a direction parallel to the field very quickly. Clear? In ferromagnetic, when a ferromagnetic rod is freely suspended in a uniform magnetic field, it aligns itself in a direction parallel to the field is very quickly. So this is the ferromagnetic substance. Now in diamagnetic liquid, if a diamagnetic liquid taken in a watch glass is placed in uniform magnetic field, it collects away from the center when the magnetic poles are closer and collects at the center when the magnetic poles are farther. So let's see in this diagram. This is the magnetic dipoles. If diamagnetic liquid is taken on a watch glass. Clear? And it is placed in a uniform magnetic field. So in the first figure, we see that when magnetic poles are closer, in this magnetic poles are closer. Clear? So it collects away from the center, and when the magnetic poles are farther, we see in this next diagram, it collects at the center. Clear? At the center when the poles are further. And if we talk about paramagnetic, if a paramagnetic liquid taken in a watch glass, which is placed in a uniform magnetic field, it collects at the center, opposite to diamagnetic. This is the paramagnetic liquid which is taken in a watch glass, what is placed in a uniform magnetic field. When poles are closer, this collect at the center. Clear? And when the poles are farther, it collects away from the center. Clear? And if we talk about ferromagnetic liquid, if ferromagnetic liquid taken in a watch glass is placed in a uniform magnetic field, it collect at the center when the magnetic poles are closer and collect away from the center when the magnetic poles are farther. Let's see in this diagram and this diagram. So I hope these points are clear to you. Next is when a diamagnetic substance is placed in a magnetic field, it is weakly magnetized in the direction opposite to the inducing field. Clear? When a paramagnetic substance is placed in a magnetic field, it is weakly magnetized in the direction of inducing field. Okay, when a ferromagnetic substance is placed in a magnetic field, it is strongly magnetized in the inducing field. Clear? Induced dipole moment for a diamagnetic substance is negative. It has a positive value for paramagnetic substance, and it has a positive value for ferromagnetic substance. Clear? Intensity of magnetization for diamagnetic substance has a small negative value. Intensity of magnetization has a small positive value for paramagnetic substance. Intensity of magnetization has a very large value for large positive value for ferromagnetic substance. Magnetic permeability for diamagnetic is always less than unity. Magnetic permeability for paramagnetic is more than unity. And magnetic permeability for ferromagnetic is large. That is much more than unity. Magnetic susceptibility for paramagnetic is it has a negative value. Magnetic susceptibility for diamagnetic has negative value. Magnetic susceptibility for paramagnetic has positive value, and magnetic susceptibility for ferromagnetic has positive value, large positive value. Clear? Diamagnet do not obey Curie's law, that is their properties do not change with temperature. Clear? Paramagnetic obey Curie's law, they lose their magnetic property with rise in temperature, and ferromagnet obey Curie's law. At a certain temperature called Curie point, they lose ferromagnetic material property and behave like a paramagnetic substance. Clear? So if we draw a graph between susceptibility and temperature, we have a graph for paramagnetic, diamagnet, temperature and susceptibility. So it does not depend on temperature. It has a graph something like this. And graph for diamagnetic, we have, it looks like this. Temperature and susceptibility graph. Clear? And for ferromagnet, we will discuss about graph one by one. In first graph, we see that For diamagnetic, susceptibility is negative and it is independent of temperature. For second graph, for paramagnetic material, susceptibility varies inversely as the temperature. From Curie law, susceptibility is given by C upon T. Clear? So from this relation, the graph for ferromagnetism is look like this. For this graph for paramagnetism. For ferromagnetism material, the variation of susceptibility with temperature is very peculiar and follow Curie's Weiss law. Clear? According to which the variation of susceptibility at low temperatures less than Tc is very complex, but above it the variation becomes as simple as the paramagnetic susceptibility. The variation of susceptibility temperature is shown in this diagram. This is Tc, first and second. Clear? So from first region, it is a ferromagnetic region and that which is marked as first. And second region is paramagnetism region. So I hope these graphs are clear to you. Okay. Magnetic susceptibility of a material varies inversely with absolute temperature, which is given by I is directly proportional to H upon T, or we can write I equal to H 1 upon H is proportional to 1 upon T. Clear? I is directly proportional to H upon T. So I hope this is clear to you, or we can write this equation I upon H directly proportional to 1 upon T. Clear? So susceptibility is directly proportional to 1 upon T, or we can say susceptibility is inversely proportional to temperature. Susceptibility is C upon T, where C is the Curie constant. Curie temperature for iron is 1000 Kelvin, for cobalt it is 14,000 Kelvin, and for nickel it is 600 Kelvin. So Curie temperature, ferromagnetic decreases with rising temperature. When we rise the temperature of a ferromagnetic substance, its ferromagnetism decreases. Clear? If we can say if we heat a ferromagnetic substance, then at a definite temperature, the ferromagnetic property of substance suddenly disappear and substance becomes paramagnetic. It behaves like a paramagnetic. The temperature above which a ferromagnetic substance becomes paramagnetic is called Curie temperature. Clear? This is the graph between I and H upon T. It is given by this graph. Now, let's come to next topic, stasis loop or magnetization curve. Okay, so stasis curve is when a ferromagnetic substance is placed in a magnetic field. Ferromagnetic substance, when placed in a magnetic field, it is magnetized by induction. We have already discussed about it. If we change the magnetic intensity of the magnetizing field, intensity of magnetization and magnetic flux density in the substance do not vary linearly with H. In other words, the susceptibility is M upon H, where M is intensity of magnetization and H is flux density. Or clear? And permeability B mu equal to B upon H of the substance are not constant, but change with H and also depend upon the past history of the substance. So from this figure, This is a graph between H and I. See in this graph, this is the variation of H with I as shown in this figure. The point O represents the initial unmagnetized state of a substance, where H is 0, I is 0. Clear? And if H is increased, I is also increased along OA as shown in this figure. At the substance acquire a state of magnetic saturation at point A. Any further increases in H does not produce any increase in I. Okay? So if we now, the magnetizing field H is decreased. Clear? The magnetization M of the substance also decrease. If H is decreased, I is also decreased in this graph. Following a path A, B. Clear? Thus M lags behind H. When H becomes 0, here H becomes 0, but I is not 0. I still has a value equal to OB. The magnetizing remaining in this substance when the magnetizing field is reduced to 0. This is called residual magnetism or retentivity. Clear? So what is retentivity? Retentivity is the of a substance is measure of magnetization retaining in the substance when the magnetizing field is removed. This is denoted by OB. This is the retentivity. OB is retentivity. I hope this is clear to you. OB is retentivity from this figure. Okay. So the intensity of magnetization I increases with increase in magnetizing force H. Here, initially through OA and reaches saturation point A. Clear? When H is decreased, I is decreased. But it does not come to 0. At H is 0. But I has a certain value. So BO is called retentivity. Clear? The magnetization remaining in the substance when the magnetizing field is reduced to 0 is called residual magnetism, or the power of retaining this magnetism is called retentivity. So we can say retentivity of a substance is a measure of magnetization remaining in the substance when the magnetizing field is removed. It is represented by OB. OB is the retentivity of the substance. Clear? So retentivity, residual magnetism set up in a material represented by OB. Clear? Now to bring I to 0. To bring I to 0, to demagnetize completely, the opposite negative magnetizing force is applied. This magnetizing force represented by OC. Clear? So if we now, the magnetic field is increased in the reverse direction. This is the reverse direction. In this direction, if we increase the magnetizing field H, the direction of the magnetization I also decreases. Clear? In this, if we increase the magnetizing field in the reverse direction, the magnetization I decreases along BC, still lagging behind H, until it becomes 0 at point C. Clear? When H equal to OC. So the value OC of the magnetizing field is called coercive force or coercivity of the substance. Thus, coercivity of a substance is a measure of reverse magnetizing field required to destroy the residual magnetism of the substance. So here H is increased beyond OC. Now H is increased beyond OC. Just see in this diagram. H is increased beyond OC. The substance is increasingly magnetized in opposite direction along CD. At D, the substance is again magnetically saturated. by taking H back from its maximum value to its original maximum positive value, a symmetrical graph DEFA is obtained. At point B and E, where the substance is magnetized in the absence of any external magnetizing field, it is said to be permanent magnet. Clear? So it is found that magnetization always lag behind the magnetizing force. So lagging of M behind H is called hysteresis. I hope this is clear to you. The closed curve A, B, C, D, E, F, A, which represent a cycle of magnetization of a substance, is called hysteresis curve or hysteresis loop of the substance. On repeating the process, the same closed curve is traced again, but the portion of OA is never obtained. Clear? So after reaching the saturation level D, when the magnetizing force is reversed, the curve closes the point A, completing a cycle. Loop A, B, C, D, E, F, A is called hysteresis loop. So the area of the loop gives the loss of energy due to the cycle of a magnetization and demagnetization and is dissipated in the form of heat. Clear? The material like iron having thin loop is used for making temporary magnet, and that with thick loop like steel is used for permanent magnet. So this is a graph. This is the loop of iron or steel. For iron, it has a thin loop. Clear? And for steel, it has a thick loop. So we can draw this diagram for steel and iron. This is H and this is intensity of magnetization. Clear? This is the graph for steel. And this is graph for soft iron. This is for iron and this is for steel. Clear? From this graph, you will see that for steel, this is for steel. So this is for steel. For steel, corrosivity is greater than corrosivity of iron. Clear? Corrosivity of iron is less than corrosivity of steel. While the corrosivity, retentivity of iron, retentivity is this, for iron is greater than retentivity of steel. Clear? And stresses lost in soft iron is smaller than stresses lost in steel, because the area of soft iron loop is smaller than area of the steel. You can see in this diagram also. Clear? So the curve between magnetic flux density and magnetizing field H would reveal that permeability of soft iron is greater than that of steel. Clear? So we can select the material according to their corrosivity and retentivity. For permanent magnet, the material for a permanent magnet should have a high retentivity so that the magnet is strong, and high corrosivity so that the magnetization is not wiped out by stray external field. Clear? So stress is lost in material because the material in this case is never put to cyclic changes of magnetization. So for these consideration, permanent magnet are made up of steel. I hope this is clear to you. Permanent magnets are made up of steel. Clear? So I hope this is clear to you. Electromagnet. For electromagnet, the material for the core of electromagnet should have high permeability or high susceptibility. Clear? high permeability or high susceptibility, especially at low magnetizing field and low retentivity. Soft iron is suitable for electromagnet. Clear? And for transformer core or telephone diaphragm, in this case, the material goes through complete cycle of magnetization continuously. The material must therefore have a low stresses loss to have less dissipation of energy and hence a small heating of material. Clear? It has a high permeability to obtain large flux density at low field and high specific resistance. So soft iron is used for making transformer core and telephone diaphragms. So for more effective alloy have now been developed for transformer core. They are mu metals, etc. So I hope this is clear to you. Okay. So what? Try to solve question related to this topic. And if you don't understand anything, just write in my comment box. Okay. So thank you.